Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Books, Gurrs, and Purrs. My name is Leslie, and today we're going to be discussing James Baldwin's If Beale Street Could Talk. Alright, another book that I absolutely loved. Gosh, where do I start? Alright, this book takes place in 1970s Harlem, where Tish and Fonnie are friends. They are childhood friends, and they have the most adorable love stories. They fall in love. They want to get married. They're engaged. They are now fiancés and whatnot. And at this time, Fonnie is accused of a crime that he didn't commit. Basically, he's being framed. And so this is about the struggle for his family and Tish's family to try to get him out of the prison system, because he's being held, even though he hasn't even gone to trial yet. He's being held. And the story kind of goes from there. I just want to focus on the beautiful relationship that Tish and Fonnie have first, before we get into anything else. There's one beautiful way, or like little scene that the author wrote that I thought was so beautiful, and I think is the most subtle of romantic lines that I've ever heard, and it's in a book that's not even a romance novel. And so the author writes on page 51, Fonnie liked me so much that it didn't occur to him that he loved me. I liked him so much that no other boys was real to me. I didn't see them. I didn't know what this meant. But the waiting moment, which had spied us on the road, and which was waiting for us, knew. And I thought that was so beautiful, that there was this developing love, and it was just time needing to catch up with them in the right moment for them to like acknowledge how much they loved each other. I thought that was incredibly beautiful, and it almost like is on the cusp of saying like their love was fated, and I absolutely loved that. It just really swept me away. Once again, this writer, James Baldwin, just writes so beautifully, and he always writes with like a lot of imagery, and has a knack for really creating these like fully realized characters. Just realizing how Fonnie and Tish fall in love, and how it all started with like a little bit of a fight between her and defending her friend, and it was like this misunderstanding, if I remember correctly. But it's just really funny how their friendship started in childhood. And so part of me just wants to live right there in that moment. But there's so much more that goes on in this book. And you kind of learn how Tish's family is more of a family than Fonnie's family is to him. You get a sense of how they're trying to figure out how to create a life for themselves with little means. Trying to figure out how they're going to better themselves to have a life together. And I'm going to have to look at my notes so I won't forget anything. And so the story kind of like toggles between present and the past. Not too much, so it's definitely more in the present than anything. But I do like how we learn how Tish is pregnant, and Fonnie is put away. They haven't had a chance to get married yet, and so there's this dialogue around the social standards, right? Now she's gonna give birth to a child and she's not married yet, and how that's frowned upon. And also they hire a lawyer, and there's even like this evolution of what the lawyer thinks at the beginning, and then how the lawyer character really sees like the corruption and what's really going on, and really decides to be passionate and dig their their heels in on this case, to his professional detriment, right? Gosh, I just realized I'm talking on, and so I should probably split this from non-spoiler to spoiler, but I'll just say that, oh my gosh, what should I tell you before we talk spoiler talk? Yeah, I'm gonna have to read from my notes because I don't want to miss anything out. But the story definitely weaves through religious hypocrisy, police corruption, systemic racism, a broken justice system, and optimism during trying times, which I really feel is strong throughout this book. It's just like the optimism is a key point in this book, that I felt left me not feeling so emotionally hungover by the end. You know, it's still like a hard read, because it's a reflection of reality. But yeah, the optimism really got me in this book. From that point on, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to have like a spoiler chat about this book. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch the rest of this. All right, spoiler chat. Where was I? Because I was just going off and talking about this book and forgetting that I should cut off the non-spoiler chat at some point. There's a friend that gets out of prison, Daniel, and this is before Fonny is framed. And so what we get to see through this character is his trauma of going to prison and seeing how he also was framed. And this is before Fonny and Tish go through their legal situation. And so you just see like all the trauma, all the terrible things that he's had experience in prison, and how he's just opening up to Tish and Fonny about what they've been through. And so what we learn over time is that at some point in time, Tish has like an incident at a grocery store where someone's harassing her, and the police come over to help, but it's the same time that Fonny shows up, and so they automatically assume that Fonny, because he's black, he's the one that's like the culprit or did something wrong. And the only reason why Fonny wasn't taken away was because the how do I say it? The store owner witnessed everything and then intercepted what was going on and was like, no, he didn't do anything wrong. This other gentleman was accosting her. And if it wasn't for the store owner, Fonny would have been taken away. But that moment for the police, instead of like understanding the situation, for them, the way that the author frames it is all they see is that like a black man got away with something. And so they kind of had Fonny on their shit list, right? Because basically they're like a blue gang. So that will lead up to what happens with Fonny later, which is that he's home. He was nowhere near where a crime took place, but the police showed up at, I don't know if it was at Fonny and Tish's place or if it was their friend's place, but they show up and he's already distraught. He's already has all these raw emotions of opening up himself and being vulnerable. I'm talking about Daniel before I forget his name. And then the cops show up and that's so traumatic for him. And they frame Fonny and say, well, you committed this crime. They take him in. They also take Daniel, which is like double terrible because in a way, through other characters, you realize, well, most likely he will potentially lie and put everything on Fonny just because he wants to get out. He was already in prison for something that he didn't do. So there's that. But when those conversations come up, it's not even coming from a place of like having any ill feelings towards Daniel. It's just he's been through the ringer. And so Tish's family is just so desperate to figure out how to get him out of this circumstance. And so it's so much about like the ripple effect of all these things that happen, of a broken injustice system, or yeah, a broken justice system, and like systemic racism, and this family trying to like break out of something that's like almost like unbreakable, right? So Tisha and her I think her sibling are trying to like figure out what they could do. And then you have the two father figures, Tisha's dad and Fonny's dad, that are desperately trying to get some money. So what do when there are no good choices? They have to make choices. They have to carve them out, right? So they start stealing from their jobs to kind of like make money on the side, just to be able to pay for the lawyer and whatever else Fonny needs. So I think that was a really great example of when people don't have good choices, they're going to make the choices that they need to survive and to make things happen. And so I thought that was really important that the author explored that. And what was the other thing? What was so hard to read and I'm conflicted on, but I don't blame the mother character. It's definitely not the right word, but Fonny is accused of a heinous crime. And so Tish's mother takes off to another country where the victim is being stashed. She's trying to start her life over again after she was like brutally attacked. And so all Tish's mom wants to do is talk to her and just be like, are you sure this is the person that did it? Because she knows that Fonny didn't commit the crime, but it's really like a hard conversation to have between, I want to make sure that this innocent person is not accused of something that they didn't do, but then it's like, in order to do that, she has to re-traumatize someone that already went through something terrible, to have them go into their mind and be re-victimized and re-experience things that they don't ever want to like remember again or experience. And so that was just like such a tough part of the book that I felt like I appreciated the author exploring, because when these type of things happened, it's a really great point to focus on like the nuances and the complications of untangling something, and understanding that there's like a difference between the truth, perspective, and the corruption that takes place, and the way that laws work, right? For instance, someone could be accused of something, they could be found guilty, but actually they didn't do it, right? Or maybe someone's found innocent of something, but that doesn't mean that they're not guilty. And so all of that is just really explored in here beautifully. And my battery's about to run out, so let me try to wrap this up. Alright, I guess I'll just talk about the two fathers briefly, how they're stealing and they're just trying to do their best. And I like how the author wrote on page 128, each of these men would gladly go to jail, blow away a pig, or blow up a city to save their progeny from the jaws of this democratic hell. And I thought the words democratic hell were so well placed within that sentence. And it just speaks to the desperation, the feelings of a system that works against people. And yeah, there's a lot to be said in this book. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to add that much more to the story. Although I just want to say that there's this like time, desperation, intense feelings of like tension in the book. And that's all because that's like how great of a writer James Baldwin is. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this short because my battery is about to go out on me. But if you're watching this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think about If Beale Street Could Talk. I haven't watched a movie yet. I will watch it before I make my wrap-up video, and probably just try to come back to this book and discuss the differences and what worked or didn't work. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think below, and I'll see you later.